Hey, Marilyn, how are you?
Hi.
Good? All right, good to see you. We're delighted you're here. My name is Thomas Mackey. I'm with the History Department at the University of Louisville and the Brandeis School of Law at the University of Louisville.
And I'm Hank Chambers down here at the University of Richmond School of Law, where I teach criminal law, white collar crime, and a couple of other classes.
I'm Rita McCann, and I'm just a plain vanilla lawyer from Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm so impressed that you guys have taken time from what's been a real difficult time in our whole country to prepare what you have prepared and to come be with us today. And I'm just really looking forward to it. Please tell us who you are.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Kauffman. I'm a senior at Boonsboro High School, and I plan to attend Loyola University, Maryland this fall to double major in marketing and information systems.
I'm Seth Horne. I'm a junior at Boonsboro High School, and I plan to go to a four-year university.
I'm Shannon Collins. I'm a junior at Boonsboro High School, and I plan to pursue a career in environmental law. And this is our lovely teacher, Mrs. Bassett.
Hey, very cool. As you know, this is Unit 3, and it's Question 3. Let me read it. In 2020, we celebrate the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which recognized the right of women to vote. Despite recent controversy, the Equal Rights Amendment has not yet been declared ratified. What are the similarities and differences between these two amendments? What impact, if any, has the 19th Amendment had on women in achieving equality with men in the United States and around the world? What are the advantages and disadvantages of states passing their own equal rights amendments rather than ratifying a national constitutional amendment? You may begin.
The 19th Amendment and the Equal Rights Amendment are similar in their intentions, though starkly different in their accomplishments. The 19th Amendment says, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex."
The Equal Rights Amendment states, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
At surface value, the two amendments appear quite similar in content. The 19th Amendment ensures that no citizen can be denied suffrage on the basis of sex, while the Equal Rights Amendment fought to end the legal distinctions between sexes. These ideas prove the similarity of their goals, which are to create and promote equality in terms of sex.
Although these amendments are comparable in many ways, they are different in regards to achievement. The 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, while the ERA was not as successful. After being introduced to Congress in 1923, it was finally submitted to state legislators in 1972. Within the 7-year ratification period, only 35 states ratified it, subsequently derailing the amendment.
The accomplishments of each amendment is the reason they are vastly different. The 19th Amendment focuses solely on one aspect of equality, suffrage. However, the Equal Rights Amendment is more broad and encompasses equal rights on a grander scale. It proposes equality far beyond the right to vote by introducing full equal rights under the law.
The 19th Amendment led to important changes within society, but obtaining the right to vote did not entail equality with men. Involvement within the government would allow the feminist agenda to influence policies and viewpoints. This influence led to the creation of policies such as Title IX, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any federally funded education program or activity, and the Equal Pay Act, which prohibits gender-based wage discrimination.
In today's current society, equality is more apparent, especially since women are running for president, something that would have never been accomplished without the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment has also been affected women's equality with men around the world.
Following the passage of the 19th Amendment, countries like Great Britain, France, Turkey, China, and more followed the United States' example and gave women the right to vote. The expansion of women's suffrage led to the United Nations World Conference on Women, which led to the Beijing Declaration and the Platform for Action, a key global policy on gender equality.
Important changes have been made in even the strictest of countries such as Saudi Arabia. In 2015, Saudi Arabian women were allowed to vote for the first time, and then in 2017, the ban against women driving was lifted.
An advantage of states passing their own equal rights amendments is that if a state chooses to implement something new or different into their government, that state can act as a laboratory of democracy, in which experiments with new policies can lead to national adoption. For example, Massachusetts experimented with universal health care, which eventually led to the passage of Obamacare.
Another advantage of states passing their own equal rights amendment is that states are uniquely qualified to know what their constituents need or want. All 50 states and unique are unique entities, and many times national laws are necessarily relevant to all states in their broad form.
This could allow states to include elements in their amendments that may be overlooked at the national level, such as equal rights for illegal immigrants in border states or equal rights for Native Americans in the Western states. If states included these elements in their amendments, an equal rights amendment adopted at the national level may have a better chance of being totally inclusive to all.
On the other hand, allowing states to pass their own equal rights amendments could lead to certain groups and individuals being left out or discriminated against. This could lead to confusion in laws across state lines, particularly in areas where individuals travel across state lines frequently.
An equal rights amendment could also be passed at the national level, and if passed, would apply to all persons equally and fairly. It would be approved by Congress and ratified by at least 38 of the 50 states, so states would still have a significant role in the passage of such an amendment.
A disadvantage to passing the equal rights amendment at the national level is the sheer time it would take. Change is slow and difficult at the national level, and states may have more success and efficiency passing an equal rights amendment at the state level.
Equality is one of our Constitution's fundamental principles, and historically, government involvement has been one of the most effective ways of gaining and upholding equality, especially on the account of sex. Thank you for listening to our testimony. We are now ready for your questions.
Yeah. Interesting. Lots to think about and integrate here and try to figure out in any kind of way. What occurs to me listening to your opening is maybe get you to think a little bit and talk a little bit about the 19th Amendment, maybe the Equal Rights Amendment, but also the 14th Amendment, and in particular, the Equal Protection Clause. Because the Equal Protection Clause does what it seems to say, then why the Equal Rights Amendment? Help me understand the relationship between the 14th Amendment and the 19th, or Equal Rights Amendment, how you understand it in any, or how that hits your ear.
Well, many people understand that the 14th Amendment covers many things that the Equal Rights Amendment are trying to achieve. But the important thing about the Equal Rights Amendment is that it provides some sort of symbolic legislation, which is important because it gives women confidence in the workplace with certain things that the 14th Amendment wouldn't.
Additionally,
so
adding...
It's just symbolic?
Yes, symbolic legislation.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Collins, please continue.
Sorry. Adding on to what my colleague said, at first the Equal Protection Clause wasn't meant to provide any protection against gender discrimination. The first time it was used for that was in Reed v. Reed, which was applied by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who actually used the Equal Protection Clause for the first time ever to prevent gender discrimination. And the thing about the ERA, which would be different from the Equal Protection Clause, is that it just secures the rights for women because it would just add to more protection in the workforce and just solidify more than the equal protection could.
Right, as my colleague said, he mentioned that it could be perceived as symbolic legislation. However, the Equal Rights Amendment would build off of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by broadening women's rights, especially in the workplace, and also give them sort of support for matters in which they would want to sue, whether it be sexual discrimination in the workplace or things like that.
So what do we do with the notion that we already have the Equal Pay Act that you all mentioned? We already have Title VII. Why do we need anything more symbolic? Why not just enforce those laws stringently?
While that is true that we have several Equal Pay Acts, throughout the course of history, we've noticed that there has been violation of those, specifically in Hollywood, and there's the lawsuit going on with the U.S. women's soccer team. And while if we did just enforce those, it would provide more security, but the ERA has more than just equal pay. It also has more within the workforce, such as pregnancy discrimination, and it also just secures women's rights within the United States and just adds more rather than just equal pay.
Right, we do have the Equal Pay Act and Title VII, which is supposed to be a legal representation that women and men should be paid equally and should not be discriminated in the workplace. However, we do still see situations where this isn't enforced, it's violated, and employers, whoever it may be, still make excuses for why people aren't being paid for equal work. So it would perhaps be another piece of legislation to that could be used in cases involving this to be more effective, maybe, although that is a good big problem that we have these pieces of legislation, although they're not being as enforced as strictly as they should be.
Will the ERA apply to private activity or just public activity?
Depending on how they apply it, most often I'm pretty sure it would apply to private too, since it's at a national level if it was ratified and if they did remove the time period that is currently restricting the ERA from ratifying.
Okay.
With the 19th Amendment allowing women the right to vote, why do you think it is we haven't had as many women elected?
I believe the main reason for that is society is still at the point where it believes that it's not the right time for a woman president. While I don't believe that, because when will it be time if that's the excuse? But I believe society is advancing, especially with stuff like the Me Too movement going on and women rallies and stuff like that. So I believe there will be a moment when we will have a woman president, and it will be a great time in the US history.
Right, I think that that's also, you could say that people are still a product of their time or a product of this historical mindset that women haven't been as involved in government or has held those positions. However, I think we are starting to make a great progress in that. You can look at the 2016 election as some empirical data for how a woman did win the popular vote. A majority of people that voted in the nation voted for a woman. So in that sense, it wasn't based on their sex or patronage or anything like that, but their merit and their qualifications for holding the position.
Wow, good timing.
Right on the nose. Well done. Again, this is quite a mix of constitutional principle, legal rules, but as we were talking about here at the end, cultural values. On its surface, this question looks like it's going to be pretty simple, but in fact, it gets pretty swampy pretty quick. And I thought you did a nice job of giving us a kind of a line and making an argument through these issues and taking a position and defending it about the significance of the historical moment we live in and what the ERA will do or will not do. So I think that you've struggled with these big issues and done them actually quite well. So nicely done, folks.
Yeah, it's a tough issue because we're trying to get to equality, and of course the way these particular provisions get to equality is by saying we're not going to consider sex at all, and it's not clear that not considering sex at all will necessarily help women in precisely the way we want them to. So it's an interesting case, as y'all mentioned, Title VII, et cetera. We've had a lot of laws that just have not gotten the job done. Whether the ERA will get the job done is an interesting question. I hope we're not asking the same question 100 years from now if the ERA does get ratified. But you all did a lot with what you all had, so I had a good time with the conversation.
And I appreciated hearing you say we've almost gotten there with a woman candidate, and she did get a plurality of the votes. We just didn't get her. So I appreciated what you had to say, and I hope you girls are looking at running for office someday because you can certainly articulate your opinions well. Thank you so much for giving us this hard work and this time. I know I've said it before. These gentlemen and I have not ever experienced a pandemic in our lifetimes, and your teacher hasn't, and none of the rest of us have. And this is, I've been trying to tell people about what we're doing this weekend. This is an unbelievably important step that you guys are taking, and we are grateful to hear from you, and thank you.
Right. Indeed. Well done, folks, both with the material and the technology. So thanks to your teacher for her hard work, of course, Good luck. Keep going.